Okay, our lens cap is still on. I forgot to take that off. Stephen, do you need a white?
I am white balanced, thank you.
Okay. Everybody set? Yep. Stephen, okay.
My live thing is still booting up.
Okay, well. Okay, test will last second audio test for everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's all put our phones on vibrate. And without further ado, here's District Attorney Nathan Vasquez.
All right. Well, thank you so much and for being here today, and good afternoon. My name is Nathan Vasquez. I'm the District Attorney for Multnomah County. I want to begin by acknowledging the tragic loss of life in this matter. The death of Damon Lamarr Johnson it's a profound tragedy for his family. It's a profound tragedy for our community and for really everyone that was involved. Mr. Johnson was experiencing significant mental health and substance use challenges at the time of his death, and the circumstances are just quite frankly heartbreaking. Whenever there's a death that occurs while a person is in custody, it's critical that those circumstances are fully and transparently reviewed. In this case, consistent with my office's commitment to accountability and public trust, we presented the evidence to the grand jury. The evidence included testimony from on-scene civilian witnesses, all of the body camera footage. The medical examiner came and provided extensive testimony. The testimony was provided by the officers that were involved and the other on-scene officers, as well as various experts. The grand jury process is an opportunity, and it allows for a panel of community members to carefully review the facts, hear testimony, and determine whether or not criminal charges are warranted under the law. Let us all remember that the grand jury is made up of citizens from our community who are asked to come and serve their community by reviewing facts and really answering some tough and difficult questions. After a very thorough and independent review of the evidence, the grand jury has determined that there will be no criminal charges in this matter. While this decision marks the conclusion of the criminal review, the loss of life remains deeply felt. Our office remains committed to working with community partners, community members, and the family to ensure that individuals experiencing mental health crisis receive the care and support they need before such tragedies like this occur. I'm going to leave some time for questions, but I know that Chief Day asked to also have an opportunity to address you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Bob Day, Chief of Police. The Police Bureau just emphasizes the remarks given by the DA regarding this tragedy, this loss of life. I've spoken many times about the sanctity of life, and the primary role and responsibility of law enforcement is to protect that sanctity of life. And this is a tragedy. It's a tragedy for the Johnson family. It's a tragedy for the community. It is a loss that has an impact on Bureau members and community members in that neighborhood, et cetera. I want to thank the District Attorney's Office. I want to thank Nathan's leadership and his team, as well as the grand jurors who took the time, the valuable time, to carefully look at these facts that were presented to them. Thank our detectives and the East County Major Crimes teams that has supported and been part of this investigation, and also as well as all of the Portland Police Bureau members involved and community members impacted that participated as witnesses in this investigation. The next step for the Portland Police Bureau is we will continue our internal review. We've been doing that alongside of the criminal portion of it. We have been waiting for the completion of this part, so we will be receiving the transcripts to add that into our administrative review, which we will be doing in conjunction with the Office of Independent Police Review as well. So that's going to take several more weeks as we gather this new information, as we look at this from an administrative standpoint as well as from a training standpoint to ensure that our training was followed and that our policies were followed as well. And there has not been a determination yet if on that outcome based upon the rest of this information. So that's probably still a few weeks out. Once again, thank you much. Thank you, D.A. Vasquez, for your leadership in this, and our hearts go out to the family and community impacted, and hoping that we can learn as a community on how we can prevent these in the future. Thanks so much.
What was the determination by the medical examiner on cause and manner of death?
Thank you for that question. I want to also just say, to be clear to everyone that, because I'm going to answer your question, but we're going to be releasing the transcripts from the grand jury along with some of the materials such as the medical examiner's report, the presentation that they provided to the grand jury so they can give a really in-depth explanation on that. We're doing that as soon as possible. We're using automated transcription to hopefully get that to you all by Monday, if not sooner. But we're working through that, as my commitment is, in the past we had seen it take as long as weeks to months to get those transcripts out, but we're going to try to do that in just a few days. As for the cause of death, my understanding is the medical examiner ruled that Mr. Johnson died from prone restraint cardiac arrest with a contributing cause of acute methamphetamine intoxication. It's a reason why this case went to grand jury is because this is not something that is kind of readily apparent or understood. It takes truly the medical examiner and a medical professional to really explain that. And when my deputies went in depth to answer those questions, specifically they were asking about a term called metabolic acidosis, and it is what causes the cardiac arrest. The testimony provided went in depth about how that occurs, and that essentially it is something that doesn't occur without what they say a contributing factor, and in this case a contributing factor was the acute methamphetamine intoxication.
If I can follow up with Chief Day about that, prone restraint has been the focus of great controversy around this country, specifically the police agency, some of them banning these. Can you address prone restraint in the prone position?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier in the review, we're going to do a review of all the actions taken by the officers, make sure they're consistent with our training and our policy. We do train the recovery position when people are taken into custody, on the ground. So we'll be looking at that to see, when and if that occurred and the timing. As I mentioned, it's still all under investigation, so I don't want to get too far out in front of it. But we have been very much aware of those controversies and of those articles, and are looking regularly and have been looking at our training and teaching our members about those risks associated with it. So this is new information that the DA just shared with us that will be included in that review.
Chief Day, will that internal investigation be made public?
I hadn't considered that. I'm open to that conversation. I hadn't considered that at this point. We'll see when it gets completed, but I'm very much committed to transparency, so I would definitely entertain that idea.
Does that depend on the police union at all?
No, it doesn't depend. It'll be my decision. I just hadn't considered whether we were that far down the track yet, but I'll definitely consider that when we get to the end.
Was there a reason that Portland Street Response wasn't called out to this call, or was there any discussion of a different type of response when the call was made?
That's still part of the internal piece that we'll have to, those are all questions that were asked early on and will continue to be. So that'll all come out in the internal investigation. Unless, I don't know if there's anything to comment there, Dathan.
You faced some criticism before for some of the other use of force investigations, for doing them in your own office rather than taking the evidence to a grand jury. What was the change here?
Well, I dispute the term criticism. Some people have questioned it, but the reason I've always said that we're doing things this way is to be transparent. I made the decision in an officer-involved shooting earlier this year to not take that case to grand jury because I believe that the facts were apparent that our office could make a decision in a much timelier fashion. So in that particular case, we were able to put out a very detailed memo with lots of explanation of how we came to that conclusion, and it involved, a use of force, which was obviously, a shooting. So compare that with this case. The difference is here, this is a very challenging medical question. This isn't something that, I'm a lawyer. My deputies are all trained in law. We do not have a doctor on staff. The medical examiner, and I believed it was appropriate to have the medical examiner give a very thorough and detailed explanation of what went into this to fully evaluate the circumstances surrounding this death. And as you can tell, it took, I think we're approximately 4 months, so this process is not what I call something that's quick and transparent as I would like, but it was very necessary in this matter.
So you're saying it was a closer call?
What I'm saying is, these are difficult medical questions that needed to be answered and have the medical examiner give a very thorough and detailed explanation.
And what was the,
Chief Day, I heard from Johnson's sister, she says based on the video, she can't tell that the officers were well trained, even though I know you've said that publicly. She also said that she feels that the intoxication that you guys are speaking to, that portion doesn't excuse officers' actions in not releasing the restraints for several minutes. Do you have a response to that?
Yeah, well, I certainly respect her opinion on that, based on the information that's been shared. As I mentioned, the process will look at all of that. There are no excuses. We're not looking to make excuses. We're looking to own our responsibility in this, own our position, and I will ensure that it's in alignment with our training and with our policy, and then continue to demonstrate, as we have over the last several years, that we're a learning organization. And if there are things that come out of this that we identify that we can improve upon, we will certainly do those things as well.
can you talk about what the jury selection process is like in a case like this? Does the family's attorney have any role in that jury selection process, or is that coming from the prosecution?
I can't answer that, and I just want to take a moment and just say, with that last question, these are all questions that we asked in the grand jury, and so you'll have an opportunity when those transcripts come out to look at those questions. We're looking to evaluate that material. Now, to your question about grand jury, which I do really appreciate, the district attorney's office does not control the grand jury. It's actually controlled by the Oregon Judicial Department, and here locally by our presiding judge. And it's the presiding judge who selects all of the grand jurors. And so our office, we maintain essentially the facility, and the court is responsible for selection of those jurors. So we are really, subject. It's not like a traditional jury where the defense attorney or the district attorney, we would come in, we would ask questions, and we would go through a selection process. This is done wholly by the court. So we are essentially, allowed to have a grand jury that is at the neutral court selection.
Has the city or police bureau received a tort claim notice, or are you aware of any litigation surrounding this case?
I'm not aware of any at this time, no.
Was a CBPA or OCPA involved in this case at all, the Citizens Police Review Boards?
No, they're not up and running yet, so it's consistent with our past practice of the Portland Police Bureau Internal Affairs Division in conjunction with the Independent Police Review.
Chief, you've been doing this a long time. Are you aware of any other cases involving prone position or deaths related to positional asphyxiation?
I mean, I've certainly, read articles, seen stories over the years. I can't think of something that comes to mind off the top of my head, because of the details. I do appreciate District Attorney, recognizing the intricacies and the complexity of this particular case and really relying upon those experts that, are going to be able to shine light on and, like I said, hopefully create pathways for us so that we don't have another situation like this in the future. But I can't comment specifically on those types of incidents, but I do know that they have existed and have read about it.
When will the officers who are on leave return to work? Will it be after the internal investigation?
We have a return to work policy. My goal is to bring them back and begin to start a process of just reintegrating. They've been off for 4 months, so there's training they're going to need to catch up on, some basic catch-up skills, et cetera. But my intention is not to have them out in the community doing routine police work as before until after we've completed the internal investigation portion of it. But we will be bringing them back internally just to start to give them the refresher training they need so they're prepared depending on the outcome of the internal investigation. The internal investigation will determine, the next steps in that process. So I'm comfortable with them basically doing in-house work while that still continues. Now that we have this report from the grand jury, but I have not made a decision about whether or not this is within policy and their return to this role should not be seen as a determination of whether or not it's within policy. But I do believe it's in their best interest and the organization's best interest to begin the process of trying to get some of their training and stuff caught up. They've been off for a long time, and the longer they're away, the more catch-up is required down the road.
What happens if your investigation finds they did violate policy?
Well, that will, obviously, it goes to a performance review board. The performance review board makes a recommendation to me, and then I make a determination, which could range anywhere from, suspension to termination. If we get to that point, then, I'll take the appropriate action, appropriate response. This is not uncommon. We don't always put people on administrative leave for discipline matters or for investigations. It's oftentimes that people continue to serve in various assignments, but I do want to minimize the perception of favor, and I also want to minimize, the potential conflict with community until the process has completely run its course. But I also value our members and their mental health and their well-being and the responsibilities that we have holistically to care for everyone in this process.
I apologize, I might not be fully caught up on what's going on behind the scenes of this, but what's taking so long with the citizen review board coming together?
That you're going to have to talk to the city about. We're not running that, so you're going to have to ask the people that are putting that together. Thanks.
Is your training on prone restraint available publicly anywhere, or is that all in?
I know that our directives are. I'm not sure about our training, but I can double check. I'll talk to Mike and see what we can get out.
Are you open to phasing out prone restraint at any time?
Well, I think we need to have a clearer definition when we talk about prone restraint, what exactly it is we're talking about, the circumstances. So, as I said, we're continuing to be a learning organization. Police Bureau has led in many areas around the areas of use of force and control tactics, and so, we're constantly evaluating, and not just because of this tragedy. I mean, we're asking ourselves that on a regular basis, and we work closely with the state as well, the state academy, working with our other partners, looking at national trends, et cetera. So, I mean, it's always being evaluated, and in this particular case, obviously, it's going to get a close look as well.
The OPB had reported that handcuffs didn't come off when EMTs were there. Is that the case? Can you explain what
Yeah, I
happened?
can't, I'm not going to speak to the specifics of the cases, those types of actions, because I still want this administrative review to go run its course.